What's going on, people? This is another great installment of the film review. Movies, music, culture, and whatever else comes to mind. We are the husband and wife team that review culture in movies, music, society, and politics. And do we have a great one for you today on Thanksgiving?
Yes.
First of all,
Happy Thanksgiving, and I hope everyone had a nice, hearty, healthy, blessed meal.
you know, many people say, Thanksgiving isn't, a holiday for us. Well, you make Thanksgiving the holiday for you by doing what it means for you and your family.
Yep, happy Turkey Day.
Because, there's a certain history between black folks and Native Americans that you say, we don't care what happened. There's certain history between black people and Native Americans in this country that you say, hey, they own slavery. We don't care what happened. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. Today we are reviewing two films. First of all, let's say, check this out. These are the new the film review t-shirts.
Yep.
We have them in gray with the white letters and black with the white letters, but multiple colors are coming.
Yep.
So, we'll have them up on Lordlandfilms.com, for you to purchase yours so you can roll around and say, hey, I watch and I support the film review. Also, this is also brought to you by the various shows that I produce under the Lordlandfilms.com brand, including Like It Is Conscious Radio, which you can hear all of the various podcasts on SoundCloud. We also have, of course, the film review.
Yep.
You can hear that on SoundCloud as well. Nothing But the Facts podcast, the first 19 archived episodes. You can go right there to SoundCloud and also hear that. So we're producing, and you can also see the visuals on YouTube and Vimeo. And we're just doing our thing, and I'm looking for that right MC that we can shoot your video, actually make it happen, and then actually promote it and boost those numbers up. So that's what we're looking to do going into the new year, because I have a background in marketing and promotion, and we want to see those numbers pop. So anyway, so that's what it's brought to you by today, Lordlandfilms.com. So the two films that we're reviewing today are The Nutcracker and the Four Realms and Green Book.
Yep.
So let's start with The Nutcracker. Back home in Cleveland in the early 80s, the Cleveland Ballet had Baryshnikov. That's his name.
Right.
He later went on to be in acting, and he was in a couple of films with Gregory Hines, or at least one film with Gregory Hines where they played detectives or whatnot. And or he was a dancer, and Gregory Hines was a detective.
What's it called? White Knights.
White Knights, that's right. And but anyway, back in the early 80s, he was a ballet phenom from Russia. Right? I guess he defected. Is that what happened?
So.
Yeah, he defected so he could be in the United States. But the Cleveland Ballet landed Baryshnikov for a short period of time, and they actually filmed The Nutcracker with him in it. And every year in the early 80s, I forget what channel it was. It was either WKYC,
I think it was 40.
Or I was about to say, or WUAB channel 43.
Right.
You would see The Nutcracker every year. So, not a stranger to The Nutcracker because of its importance to blossoming the importance of the Cleveland Ballet during those years, during the holiday seasons, usually during Thanksgiving all the way through Christmas. They would have the ballet, and they filmed it, and Baryshnikov was in it. So there's a few changes in this particular version for film. There's ballet in it, but it's more displayed as the audience of the storyline is actually watching the ballet happen on stage, or you see it in this alternative world. You see the ballet, but we'll get to Miss Copeland in a second. But let's go over who is in
the film.
Who's in the film for the Nutcracker and the Four Realms.
So the film is starring Misty Copeland, Morgan Freeman, Helen Mirren, as well as
the person who plays the Nutcracker,
Jaden Fawara Knight.
That's right.
As well as
the lead characters,
Mackenzie Foy, who played Clara. She did an excellent job. Keira Knightley was in it as well. Lil Buck, who's an excellent dancer.
You see him in it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great film. Like, it was
a great adaptation.
Yeah, it was, and it was beautiful and magical and just a Disney film.
Well, let's lay out the plot line. Okay, so the Nutcracker is about a young lady who has lost her mother, and there's a banquet, a Christmas banquet that happens. This is how the ballet is too, and it's a Christmas banquet that happens. Now in the ballet, when I was talking about changes, what happens is the little brother leaves a nut in the Nutcracker's jaws, and the Nutcracker, and he says the Nutcracker is broken, so he throws it down, but then the sister picks it up and dislodges the nut from the Nutcracker's jaws, and then she dances with the Nutcracker, and next thing you know, the Nutcracker becomes life size, and before it's over, it becomes a human male, and they're doing this dance. Now, that is one change within the film, where the Nutcracker, she doesn't dislodge. It changes, and she's in a maze, so to speak, and as she passes her brother, she says, "Look at what they got me. This is your boyfriend." And so that was to change up her dislodging this and let you know that there would be some caring happening between her and the Nutcracker character. So go ahead.
Well, first of all, it kicked off with it took you on a ride, like the cameraman. It set up the scene for the land, right? It was so beautiful, like the snow, and then you saw the Christmas lights, and you saw the different cottages, and just really bright, vivid colors
and everyday things that were happening.
Just
what they were happening in their real life, in this alternative realm, in this alternative world. These things became larger than life. And in Disney fashion, everything was vivid. The colors were vivid, just beautiful scenery. And then the two directors, Lassie Hellstrom as well as Joe Johnston, they directed the film. Okay, so go ahead. So what I like about the film is I'm really loving what's happening since the hack happened at Sony, and they were saying that black characters don't sell overseas. All of this is changing up, and we're seeing that where there would be just all European American characters, that is not so any longer right now at this point, and you see that there are characters put in, like Morgan Freeman plays the godfather of the young lady. And he's an inventor, and the story really kicks off with the dramatic need, because the mother is gone, but the little girl's dramatic need has to do with this egg that needs a certain key, and her dramatic need is to open this because this was the present that her mother left her, and the movie kicks off from there. That's her dramatic need, and the initiating event is following this maze, I'll say, is set up for them to find their gifts, and the initiating event is the key is snatched. Just as she's about to grab it, the key is snatched, and that's the initiating event, and then the story kicks off from there, and then you are introduced to all of these characters
Right.
in the alternative world
Right.
that match up to the characters in her real world.
Right.
Right? So that's what it is. But what I like about it is the characters that would always be just European American, now you find that they are black people playing these characters. Now, let's get to Miss Copeland. Let's talk about the ballet.
Oh, it's beautiful.
The ballet portion. The story of the Four Realms is told
Right.
within a ballet sequence.
Yep.
And who performs the ballet?
Misty Copeland.
That's right. Misty Copeland is performing the ballet.
She did a beautiful
And
job.
it shows you in the colors are vivid. It reminds me of, if people ever get a chance, this was a silent film though, right? Everything was told in music. The French version of Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
It's a silent film, but the director, this is when color hadn't really come in, but he started colorizing this film,
Right.
and all of the colors are so vivid, and that's what this reminded me of. The ballet sequence reminded me of the Beauty and the Beast French version from, I can't think of the year, but if you get a chance to ever see that film, watch the vivid colors and the special effects that they do, which are still relevant to today. And this was done way back.
And it was more advanced than
Some
what's
of-
done today. I
yeah,
don't even
a lot of.
think they caught up with it.
Yeah, I
It's
think
beautiful.
for what he was doing
Yeah.
as a director, it was nice. So that sequences and the way that the colors popped and everything came into existence. It wasn't there one minute, next minute it was there, and then we're not going to give away the movie, but you should go see the movie, the Nutcracker and the Four Realms.
Yeah.
You should see this film because it is a nice, not diverse cast, but a nice multicultural cast where we are definitely represented in it. And so,
And stay to the very end and
Stay
watch
to the
the
very
credits because Misty Copeland does another dance routine.
which is really more the traditional version of the Nutcracker,
It's
when
beautiful.
when the Nutcracker becomes a human person in these white tights. I just say that, boy, I tell you. But yeah, so definitely see the film because it is well worth seeing.
Yeah.
The Nutcracker and the Four Realms.
Yeah, it's a great holiday film. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day.
And now let me tell you, I really wasn't looking forward to seeing the film, and I was like, okay, but you know, the previews kept playing in there,
Right.
and my wife wanted to see the film, and I said, well, I'm not going to deny going to see the film.
Yeah, but
so,
when I saw Morgan Freeman and Misty Copeland in it, and so we have to go see it.
maybe I have to go see it, you know, because you know, listen, not only was Morgan Freeman the first black president on film,
Right.
he was also God on film. You know what I mean?
And now Godfather.
Now he's the
in Disney
Godfather.
film.
Yeah, in a Disney film. So
And Jaden Knight, he did an excellent job as the Nutcracker. So
yes, he
this is
did.
the first time seeing him.
Now let's get to the politics of the film.
Right.
There's certain politics because there was a romance between the Nutcracker and the female character who was going through this maze to get to what her mother wanted her to find. And this was more like a 1950s movie with Sidney Poitier
Yeah.
and whatever white actress you want to say. How about the one about the blind girl or whatever?
Okay.
She had feelings
Patch of
for
Blue,
him.
I think.
Patch of Blue, right.
Right.
And they never even though there's a romantic situation there, they never kiss, they never touch, they never do anything.
Right.
So that's the weird part about this film here is, like, when you watch the films where they have two European American cast in the film and they're supposed to be in a romantic situation, they do some type of kiss or something, like that. And this was not in this film, but instead they hold hands like this was 1950s or something.
Right.
And even in the Disney films today, when there's two protagonists in a film, they will do a kiss. So, you know, people need to get over that. I don't know what was happening with that, but you could tell that there was a romance there that they chose not to push in the film, which, I mean, we have to get over that because there are so many mixed relationships today that, you know, you can see it on film. You know, you just have to get over it, you know. So that was the only thing about that, and I guess they felt that wouldn't be in, I don't know what they thought, but I thought that was a little
It was weird
off.
that they didn't hug at the end.
They didn't hug. They just, you know, it was just weird. But they
She went back to her world,
right, and said, "I will be back
realm.
one day." Even Peter Pan, and even in Peter Pan, they did a little kiss, you know, goodbye as they parted. And when he came back, she was older with children, and you know, even in Peter Pan. But so it's just weird like that, and so I think they dropped the ball right there into moving into the 22nd century.
Yeah.
Okay. So other than that, the acting, superb. The storyline, the pacing, superb. The dramatic need, the initiating event, just there, going, off the chain. So, what would you rate this film?
I would give it an 8. It was a really good film. I would have given it a 10 had they, you could see like the little barrier like we talked about, like clearly there was a connection throughout the film because they had each other back. They were like they're the two main characters in the film, and then for them to part at the end and not even a hug, it was just strange.
Yeah, it was strange.
So, but you know, it was a good film. I love the scenery. It was just beautiful, like the lights, the snowflakes, the colors, the world, and then one of the other realms you'll see, because it's 4 realms. Like the floral realm was beautiful, you know, with the gardens and everything, and I mean it's just beautiful. Misty Copeland, you know, did her dance. You'll see when you see the film, and she tells the story while she's dancing and going to the different 4 realms, which are very scenic and very beautiful, like I said, in Disney style, real vivid and pretty. I think the makeup job was beautiful. The makeup artist did an excellent job, because in the theater I mentioned Helen Mirren's face. Like it looked like she had an actual crack in the face, like going across her face. It was very detailed, the makeup. Really good. The acting was great. The music was great. Again, I was there to see Misty Copeland, and she killed it. Seen her on multiple shows. The last show that I saw her recently was on BET Black Girls Rock, and she rocked it in this film. So it was a really, really good film.
I have to say, there's an unexpected twist in the film that is unexpected, that you do not see coming, you know, unless you know the ballet. But you will not see this coming. It comes out of nowhere, and so that's great storytelling there. And it's hinted to, but it might breeze past you, and when you get it, you say, "Oh man, I couldn't believe it. I fell for that." But anyway, I have to give the movie an 8 as well, exactly for that reason. We are beyond everything. Listen, they have television commercials now where you see white men with black women, black men with white women in these commercials. You hardly ever see a straight black male and female couple in these things. So they are pushing this, and they pushed it in the film, so they should at least had a hug, an embrace, or even a kiss, because it's really a teen movie. You know what I'm saying? It was really geared towards children of a certain age, teenagers, and adults who loved, who can remember the Nutcracker. People will go see that. So they really should have done that. So it's really problematic, because this is not the Disney of the 1950s.
Right.
This isn't the Disney where you will hear rhythms like in the original Dumbo, where you know they're African or black rhythms playing, but how they're shown is either through black birds or through people who are workmen, but you really don't see their faces, their shadows. They could be black, but they also could be white, but they're doing African black rhythm. So it's not that type of Year Again or Song of the South, you know, where the protagonist is there, but he's just glad to be around the European American Southern children. He's just glad to be around them. No, that's not that type of, not these years anymore. So I give it an 8. It is worth seeing though for those who remember the Nutcracker, because what saves it are the ballet sequences.
Yeah, Misty Copeland.
Mm-hmm. That's what saves it. Yeah. Definitely in all throughout the film, you know, which then brings me to, okay, the Nicholas brothers, they would be special features in films that were all European American. So it kind of harkened back to that time period too, but because there are leads in it that are on screen, you have lines.
Morgan Freeman.
That's right. It's not exactly that.
And Jaden Knight. Yeah.
But had it been all European American,
right, and
then you had these dance sequences, then it would have harkened back to that time. So they cleaned it up, people.
Yeah, it should have actually, you know, once you get in the theater and see the film, really the top billing should have been 2.
Yes.
Jaden Knight, he should have been like second. Because of course, you know, you have Claire, the character Claire, you know, it's based on her, but her right hand person was played by Jaden. Yeah, it was a black guy. So
who fought alongside her, who fought separate from her to win a victory.
Right. He saved her multiple times.
Yeah, saved her multiple times, and she should have been there. So
so it's worth seeing.
It's worth seeing. So, but it's an 8 for that reason. You know, we have to get past that. I know there's certain people in government that are trying to take us back. And you know, black folks don't have the heart to do what should be done. So the cosmos and the universe is taking care of it. It's just the way it is. And so while it's going on and as it's moving through its change, these things shouldn't be barriers any longer. Okay. So now we come to a film that talks about barriers.
Yes.
How about that?
Yep.
And that is Green Book.
Yep.
And first of all, let's go through the cast of Green Book.
The Green Book had an excellent cast, starring Mahershala Ali. First of all, we were happy to find out that the executive producer is Octavia Spencer.
Yes,
so it was nice to learn that.
Yeah, she's the executive. So she is using her position in Hollywood to get certain stories told.
Right.
Okay, so let's go through the cast.
Okay, so starring again Mahershala Ali, who plays Don Shirley.
Now you know him from Moonlight.
Moonlight, yeah.
He played the male figure that taught the main character in the film how to swim. Yeah. And he was a male figure to him where he didn't have any.
Yeah, he played opposite Janelle Monáe.
That's right.
He was her. That was her husband.
That was her husband.
Yeah.
Or boyfriend, or you know, it wasn't really well spelled out, but they stayed together. Right? Because he was in anybody. Well, we won't tell you what he was into, but you can just guess what he is. But he was the male figure. Okay.
Yeah, you're talking about Moonlight. Okay.
That's what I'm talking about, Moonlight, and he's that's where you would know him from, and he's been in some other films, but that's the one that really stands out that you will remember him, where he really came to the forefront.
Hidden Figures.
He plays the potential husband of so go ahead.
Viggo Mortensen is in the film, as well as Linda Cardellini.
He plays Tony.
Yeah, he plays Tony. And then this film is based on a true story.
It's based on a true story.
Yeah, really good. It was written by his son.
It's written by Tony Lip's son.
Yeah.
His name is Nick.
Yep.
Nick Lip.
Yep.
You know, we'll call it that because he has a long Italian name, and you know, we're not masters at pronouncing Polish or long Italian names. so so we won't butcher it. But he was known as Tony Lip.
Tony Lip.
And his son is Nick.
Right.
And he tells the story. Now, the story is mainly from the father's point of view. Go ahead.
Yeah. The director is Peter Farley.
Mm-hmm.
He did a good job.
So let's lay out the story. So this is happening during the time. This is in the 60s. This is the time when John F. Kennedy is in office, and the protagonist, which is Dr. Donald, what's his name?
Don Shirley.
Donald Shirley, but his whole name is Dr. Donald Shirley.
Right.
But let's just call him Don Shirley for short.
Right.
He is traveling down south. He's doing his United States tour, and he needs someone that can handle his affairs as far as driving, protection, and all that. And so he interviews several persons, and he chooses Nick.
Yep.
I mean, excuse me, Tony Lip.
Yep.
That's right. And what you find in the film is that Tony Lip came highly recommended to him. So the story makes Don Shirley kind of one-dimensional in the beginning of the film, and you peel back the layers as the travel goes on. But the Tony Lip character and his wife are fully fleshed out. His whole life is fully fleshed out because it's coming from his point of view, because his son wrote it. So he's fully fleshed out. You find that he's a bouncer. You see this in the trailer, so that's no spoiler there. He's a bouncer, and he has a family, and he's trying to take care of the family. But what's not in there is the situation happens, and he has to find work. And this is where that's his dramatic need. And that's his dramatic need. And as far as Dr. Shirley is concerned, his dramatic need is he needs a driver to take him down. Take him down south. The initiating event for him, there really isn't, because the story is really, as I see it, a love story about the husband and wife, and if he will make it home for Christmas. That in that song, "I'll be home for Christmas, you can count on me," right? This is what the main storyline is about. And in between, sandwiched in between, is this relationship between Tony Lip and Don Shirley. And that's what it is. So Don Shirley's character is really one-dimensional. So the trailer, in my estimation, lies to you. It makes it seem like it's going to be a civil rights story, but really what the story is about is how the Tony Lip character, through this experience, becomes a better person, as a better person as he can. It's not a story about civil rights, because what you find out as the layers peel back on Dr. Shirley is, you find out that he is an organized person who has all of his contacts. If it has to go past the muscle of Tony, if it has to go through something where they might get into some kind of legal trouble, he has all of his ducks in a row, because he is such an accomplished artist. He has rubbed shoulders with all people in upper society, and he can call upon them if he gets into a bind. That's what you find out. So this story is not about a civil rights story, and anyone who sits up there and watches it and thinks that's what it's about, they are sorely wrong. It is about the love story between the husband and wife.
And Dr. Shirley is a well-known American jazz pianist and composer. So and he introduces Tony to this world, And the relationship, the film is it's more so also about a relationship between two men, and it grows into a friendship. Because in the beginning, you'll see the film, but from the previews and the trailer, you can tell that they come from two different worlds.
But again, the Tony Lip world is well defined and drawn out, because again, this is a story about the husband
about
and
him, actually.
Right, it's about him and about his growth,
right,
as a person, and you see him before,
right.
And there's a scene in the movie where there are workers, where black workers are now allowed to come into homes where it would just be, he's an Italian American, and there's a situation that happens where there's two workers, and then there's some drinking glasses involved, and you can just imagine, if anyone knows the history about what was happening in this country during that time, and probably still this time, because we don't know, because people can still do the same thing.
Come on, Donald Trump is in office.
Yeah, right. So
these are the people that put him in office.
Right. Same people. So that's what it's really about, and what I'm tired of as a person that goes to see film, or just in this life period, is this film is this guy being upstanding, and thus having to go down south and try to shake hands with people who are bigoted, who still believe in segregation, but he's shaking hands with them to try to show that I am dignified, I am cultured, I am everything, and thus and so you should see me as an equal and treat me better. Listen, and what you find out in the story is Tony Lip is totally comfortable with who he is, with his broken Goomba English, and he says, I am who I am. I'm comfortable in my skin. I don't need to change over or change my diction or anything. And he is the total opposite. It's kind of like American Gangster, where the Denzel Washington character, not Nicky Barnes, but I forget the other, what his name is. But anyway, where he, other than doing drug selling, is upright, goes to church every Sunday, has a nice family structure, whereas the detective is a womanizer and everything. But so it's kind of the same parallel story. What I look to see, why I don't necessarily appreciate the movie as far as the message that it's putting across.
Frank Lucas.
Yeah, Frank Lucas, that's right. I don't like the message that it's putting across, because we as black people shouldn't have to be upstanding. We should be on any level that we want to be on, and not be killed in the street. There are innocent black males who are killed and murdered in the streets by police officers, but there are European American males who have gunned down people who are taken into custody and taken to Burger King.
Like Dylan Roof.
Would you like some lunch? Would you like some breakfast? You look hungry, son. So this is what it is. So the story saying it's because you're upstanding, I don't like the politics of personal responsibility, because this is not what the politics of having personal responsibility for who you are is not the reason why people are being killed in the streets. When there is gangster element in every group of people, and there are people who are middle class, lower class, upper class, and all groups of people, and they are not being judged and shot down because of it. And it's the same thing. So it's something interesting piece, because the son wrote the screenplay. He's the co-writer, but he's the lead co-writer, and he said something in there that comes through the voice of Dr. Shirley. And he says that is their natural culture, talking about the bigoted nature of whites. That is their natural culture.
Because he said they love me when I'm on stage performing,
but when I get off stage, I am just I go back to being the regular we're gonna say it here because we can say the word, you can't. A regular nigga. And so, you know, when do I get to be? So that's the
he said that is their natural culture. So when he said that,
I was like, whoa,
okay.
You know, and so let's talk about the makeup.
Tell the truth.
Let's talk about the makeup of the movie theater. When we walked in, you know, I was expecting to see, because of who was acting in it, I was expecting to see a lot of black people in the film. Maybe I was a little naive. You know, I was a little naive. When we hit the corner in the theater, it was a nice sized theater, and the majority of the seats before it really filled up, we got there before it really filled up, but it was all white folks, all European American predominantly. And then we sat down, then I could count along with us, it was like maybe 7 more black people that came to the theater, 1 Indian that came to the theater, and there is an Indian actor in the piece, and you will see that. And then the rest were European American. And I guess, to me, just my opinion, I believe that they came to experience America the way it was coming out of the 1950s going into the 60s. They wanted to see it for what it was, just for the previews, to remember that time when people were discriminated against. I felt that they wanted to do it because in some of the scenes where the father had all the one-liners in the film, and even to the point of absurdity in the film of some of the things that were happening. That was who he was naturally as a Goomba, and that was who he was naturally. And even to absurdity. And at one time I laughed. Everyone was laughing. And I said, it's so absurd what he said, right? And so they were laughing. But then there were certain scenes where the black people that were extras or the main protagonists in the film said something, and the black folks that were in the theater, we laughed, but they didn't. Right? So what it says is this problem is not solved, and it doesn't seem like it's ever going to be solved, because black people, for one thing, the politics of personal responsibility was tried. It doesn't work. To change a person's heart has to be changed. They have to change their heart. There's nothing that you can do as a person to change a person's heart, and it's not your responsibility to do so. You know, it's not your responsibility. And what he says in that particular line where he says it's their natural culture, that is who they are, which is actually a birth defect. Actually, it's a mental illness, but not a mental illness where you are excused from it.
No, mental illness.
And it's meaning that it's
you need to go get help.
you need to be locked away because you are criminally damaged in the brain. You have a criminal mind to think that you can kill people, treat people any kind of way, because look, man, there are pictures out now where these devils had a car and they had $200 per pound on black ears. Now, what the hell were you doing with $200 per pound on black ears? What were you doing with the black ears? Were you cooking them? Cannibalism. Were you cooking black people at the stake like what they were doing in Mississippi? Were you eating it? Or were you had a picnic and you would lynch a nigga, burn a nigga at the stake? I mean, that is cannibalism, and these are things that are covered up.
Well, that's where the terminology picnic.
I know that's where it comes from. That's what I'm saying. So these are things that are covered up from the majority of white folks, and thus they are able to keep their bigotedness, and their bigotedness goes so far to become racist and white supremacist and eugenics, to the point where you would lynch, burn, sell ears, body parts, knuckles, as W.E.B. Du Bois said, that in the butcher shop there were two hands that were knuckles, selling knuckles.
Right.
Were you eating that?
They do
because they do a good job of showing you African movies like Tarzan,
right,
and telling you that black people were cannibals,
right,
the Africans were cannibals, when in actuality the people right here in the United States of America
was doing the same thing,
were eating, not doing the same thing, because it's not guaranteed that that's true. You know, we don't know. We had headhunters, but headhunters shrunk heads. But what I'm saying is, we know for fact, we have pictures, we have proof, we have documentation that white folks in America were eating, burning at the stake, and lynching, having picnics, where they did this.
Well, this movie did a really good job of taking you back to that period. And it showed like the racism and like the craziness. You could tell in the movie theater, like the white people were uncomfortable by like the racism in the film, and
because
just
it smacks them right in the face.
It smacks them like really right in the face. So the director and the writer, they did a really great job at putting a mirror, you know, showing the how crazy it was.
All was. And still is.
It still is, right.
You know.
Like here this, you know, I mean, it's so many scenes in the film. I don't want to tell the film, but the film is really worth seeing. And it's just scenes in the film where it's just the race. It's just so damn stupid. And the white people are in the theater like...
Oh, yeah, they were chucking up. It's kind of like if you ever got to see Paul Mooney.
Hold on for a minute. They're in the theater like, wow, you know, at this racist stuff, but then it's just like, yeah, but see, that's what, you know, your aunts and uncles and your parents and, you know, just the craziness, like just the can't do this, not allowed to do this. This is, you walk through this door, you walk through that door, and here's an accomplished man, Dr. Shirley, right, an accomplished man, and he's not allowed to do the simplest thing, you know, to you know, and go to the restroom. Now he's performing, right, in front of thousands of people.
Well, it's small.
But thousands of people throughout the United States, right? And you paid him to come and perform, right? And this man can't even use the restroom, and he has to go across town. Literally across town, leave a venue to, you know, it's just different scenes like that throughout the movie, and it's just like crazy. And I'm in the theater, I'm saying to him, I'm like, these people are schizophrenic. Like and even the main character in the film, right, Tony, his driver, he's like, he's looking at one of the other guys in the band. It's just like, I can't believe this shit, you know. So look at how they're treating this man. He's better than them. And look at how they're treating this man. But then he had to
put the mirror up to him and say, if I was in your neighborhood and walked into a place, would it be any different? Now,
that was a great scene too. The dialogue was really great in this film.
The Green Book is the book that black people use. That's what the Green Book is about. It's about the travel guide that was put together so that when you traveled down to the South, you wouldn't have any aggravation. You knew where it was safe for you to go. It was called the Green Book. So that's what the book is about, but this is not what the story is about. Now, the audience participation or understanding of the film and entertainment and being entertained by the film kind of reminds me of going to see a Paul Mooney stand-up concert. We've seen Paul Mooney 3 times, right? And in that time, what happens is Paul Mooney will come out and this is how the movie is structured. It comes out and it shows you all of the racism that's happening in the North, right? Just the subtle racism where, we could be together. You're not going to get beat up because we're standing together. The Betsy Smith movie with Queen Latifah talks about they'll let you stand with you in the North. They don't want you around in the North, but you know they can let you work. In the South, it's don't don't get bigger than me. That's what it is in the South. So this is kind of what the Paul Mooney set up. So the movie was structured like that. Paul Mooney will come out and start telling all of the racist jokes about black people first.
Right.
Then he'll move to Mexican people.
Right.
Then he'll move to Asians. Then he'll move, Arabs or all that. But then, and while this is going on, the European Americans or wherever he is, the white folks are just cracking up. Oh, they're cracking their sides. Oh, that's so hilarious. And the black, everybody that's in there that's of different races other than white, we're laughing too because the way he's telling it is funny. But wait until he gets to talking about and telling jokes about the truth about Caucasians, European Americans, white people. The laughing stops. I have seen people get up and actually walk out. But you were laughing before, and this is what this movie does. It shows you what's happening, and it starts out with the racism in the North, and then it introduces you to this dignified person that has more learning and more degree than anyone he comes in contact with. Then you go down to then you go into the Midwest, going into Kentucky, and then you start to see at the Mason-Dixon line the racism start. Then you get to Indiana, which is not actually in the Mason-Dixon line, but that is the home of the Grand Wizard, the Ku Klux Klan, and you see how dirty the people will be, even to the point of not providing the right equipment. And that when you see the film, and then it goes into the South, and you start to get the full brutality of what was happening in the South, and the just devilment and evilness. And once that started to come up, the people were no longer entertained. It was
they started getting uncomfortable in the seats and squirming and moving.
And then the jokes started coming when the black protagonist and the people around him who were black got to start seeing the upper hand that he had because of his contacts and his connection and his organizational skills. That was when it started to turn, and the people were not too entertained at that. They loved everything until it got to that point. But
black people was cracking up.
Yeah, we were cracking up by that point. And then at the end of the film, when you see they show you after all this happens, you know how films are true stories. They show you what happened afterwards, and then at the end, certain people in the audience applauded. It was a good
film. Everyone enjoyed the film, but it was just like a social. You sit back and just observe everybody, and it was very. And you start to see that things are not. The hearts have not changed, because just like the character says, it is their natural culture, and so that is something that they have to work on that. Matter of fact, there's something circulating on Facebook where the guy, I forget the guy's name, but John somebody, but he took over for Geraldo. He was kind of like a Geraldo lookalike on 2020. And he took over, but this was recent, and he had John Quiones is the Hispanic dude that does
him. What Would You Do? No, it's the other guy. He looks kind of like Geraldo. But anyway, so there's a thing where he sits all white kids down, and he shows them two pictures. He shows a black male in a hoodie, and he shows Timothy McVeigh, the Oklahoma City bomber that blew up the federal building. And he asked the kids, which one looks trustworthy? And all the white kids point at Timothy McVeigh. Which one looks like they would be more criminal? All of the kids point at the black person in the hoodie. Come to find out, the black person in the hoodie is a lawyer and a teacher. Timothy McVeigh blew up little babies and children for his ideology and his belief that is being permanent. John
Stossel.
That's right, John Stossel. That's who it is. And so he blew up everything. And so these are little kids.
Right.
They're 5, 6, 7, 8.
Right.
This is an inherent sickness that is not being fixed.
Yeah, like you need to raise your kids right, kill that racism, because like Wendy Williams says, your child end up walking off with the killer instead of you teach them the racist way and they walk off with a Dylan Roof.
That's right. That's right. Get caught up in something that puts them in.
Right.
So the film itself, but anyone who takes this film and says that black people should be dignified, wear suits, have proper diction,
right,
carry themselves, be all that, the politics of personal responsibility, that is out the window. To be truly having the right equity in a society, you are able to be as you are,
right,
and as you are shouldn't have a prejudice put upon it,
right,
just because people have a deficiency in melanin,
right,
in their skin. And so that's what it is. So
that stuff will come back on you because like the killer of the Thousand Oaks killer that recently happened, the shooting in California, Ian David Long. Well, prior to that incident, the police had been called to his home multiple times, right? And they gave him like a little slap on the wrist
because they looked at his skin tone,
and they let their racism get in front of him
instead of taking care of it. And then had they taken care of it, he wouldn't have went into that the bar and shot up all those people. Because he would have already been detained. And he would have been taken in and put into psych ward, and this wouldn't have happened.
Right.
So that's what it is. So
that's what makes racism so crazy, because it's like, what is it? Cut off their nose to spike their face.
So, the politics of personal responsibility out the window, because that doesn't work. Because this is something that is ingrained in, and it's a psychosis, and it's mental illness. And that's what it is. So now talking about how the story is set up, beautiful setup, pacing, great, excellent.
Yeah.
The effects as far as makeup was concerned, to show damage, good.
Music.
The music,
excellent.
The acting, A1.
Yeah.
So what would you rate the film?
I would give it a 10. Excellent acting. Well written. They didn't sugarcoat anything. They didn't try to put sugar on top of shit. And just an excellent film. And I would definitely give it a 10.
You know what? I give it a 10 also. I see the sugar screen. I am tired of the woe is me of European Americans talking about we're only 8% of the population. We're in fear of losing our population, so we have to do something to try to lessen other people's population. I'm tired of that. Try something else, because the universe, the cosmos, whatever you call it, is the one that is dwindling you down, because black people are not doing anything to you. Even the African people, who they're the majority in those different countries within that continent, are not trying to do anything to you but get back what's theirs. Right? And you're not willing to do that, and it's all woe is me, and you did all this damage on the planet. So that I give it a 10. The acting, the storyline, the part about showing him and having him be just the epitome of excellence as a human being. When you're dealing with people who don't have hue, they can't see the dignity in your humanity, because they are not actually true humans, because they don't have hue. And so that's what it is. So they won't be able to see it. So that part of it, I have to drop that down to a 4. I know that's what was going on, but don't try to push that on us about the politics of personal responsibility and how you dress and how you look, because we've said it before on this podcast that they were chasing down dudes in 3-piece suits. They were chasing down little boys in knickerbockers.
With his image was what?
I mean, I'm saying his image. I'm saying I'm glad that he as a person strived to these things, but why did he strive to these things?
I think that was his person. I mean, it's a true story.
I know it's a true story, but most of the time, during that time, they would tell you, if you get to this level, we've already seen this.
Some people today are like that.
We've already seen this with Obama.
Right.
They said, get to this, be this, and then when you get there, then it will be undeniable. He ascends all the way to the presidency, and they're still calling him a monkey, and sending in pictures of watermelon patches in front of the White House, which there's nothing wrong with watermelon because it's an actual cleansing situation, and so, you know, that is out the window now because we see what the truth is. It is definitely something natural in their psyche. It cannot be, it's a defect. And so that's what it is. And so that aspect, and so people should strive to be
themselves,
what they are. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to be an educated person, do that. But even if you're a person that's just a street sweeper, or if you're a person that actually does do criminality, you shouldn't be shot down in the street because those who are your counterparts, who are at the same equivalency level, get arrested. They don't get brutalized. So that's the point of it. So I'm not downing anyone who goes and gets education, because college was great and everything, but don't think that's going to get you through. Don't think putting on a suit and a tie is going to change any outcome, because that is a false premise put up by people who want to just brutalize you, when in actuality it is something that they have to solve within themselves. So that's what it is. So I give the movie a 10. I give anybody who would use the politics of personal responsibility and saying that you are dignified if you do that, I will give that a low 4. I might even give that a 0 because we know that doesn't work. So that's it. This has been another great installment of the film review. Movies, music, culture, and whatever else comes to our minds. We are the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy Dee.
Tracy.
And we review culture in music, movies, politics, and society. And we'll see you next time on, don't forget about the t-shirts, people, the film review.